Hi, I'm Teja, and this is our continuing series on spiritual awakening. As we go forward, the paradox of posting video explanations of what is totally inexpressible in words is not lost on me. It continues to amuse me as one of those exquisite cosmic jokes and conundrums. So, as I endeavor to be clear, please bear with me if I misspeak or seem to contradict myself at any point. And feel free to comment in the comments sections below the video or contact me through our website at toawaken.org with any questions. In our introductory video, I hoped to create a sense of what spiritual awakening is, first by elucidating what it is not, because there are so many misconceptions about it. Awakening has nothing to do with being in a constant state of bliss, having your kundalini rise, or experiencing a flood of cosmic visions, other planes of consciousness, or worlds where gods and devas are dancing and playing. All of those experiences may arise as dramatic and tempting byproducts of our progress on the path. And holding on to these exciting diversions as experiences being had by a separate you places them firmly in the realm of the ego mind and therefore have absolutely nothing to do with awakening or enlightenment. Extraordinary as those experiences may be, in the end, they're just more experiences being had by a seemingly separate human, like that of savoring a great meal or having a prolonged sexual orgasm. Certainly not worth stopping for or clinging to, because in the end, we must decide, do we want to be collectors of experiences, or do we want to awaken? Awakening is not another experience you, the seemingly separate you, will ever have. Nor does the dawning of awakening mean all of your body-mind problems immediately disappear. If you were ill, awakening doesn't make the illness immediately go away. If you were having relational difficulties, awakening doesn't all of a sudden make everybody love you and want to be with you. If your human personality tended to be a little bit grouchy or short with people, awakening doesn't immediately transform you into a kind-hearted, gentle, soft-spoken, compassionate individual. All of those aspects belong to the body, the mind, and the ego. And awakening doesn't take place in the realm of our individual bodies and personalities. Instead, awakening is the direct experience that we are not merely those things, but rather the pure awareness behind them that contains and witnesses all those human expressions dispassionately. So if we are truly interested in awakening, we're not looking for cosmic experiences or an end to our problems. We're looking to let go of all these false identifications and come to rest, to dwell in our natural awareness behind all that. It's what we really are, the infinite, immortal, pure awareness that will always actually be there long after these other aspects have long since dropped away. as awakening has blossomed in this human expression, a clear knowing and description of what awakening is and is not has come through. And I'd like to share this with you to establish a core understanding point for understanding awakening and all the related topics in this video series. I want to note here that the languaging throughout these basic tenets of awakening, of spiritual awakening, they can be rich and even a bit challenging to wade through for some people. So please pause and contemplate each tenet for as long as needed, and re-listen through all of these points until the clarity feels like it's sinking in. So, basic tenets of spiritual awakening. First, there is only one thing in existence. Only one thing. And that is awareness. Since awareness is just pure awareness, not aware of something. In the absolute sense, awareness is actually not a thing, or nothing, no thing. Now, our human minds aren't good at processing abstract realities like all things are actually one thing or no thing. So don't worry if your mind disagrees or says that sounds like nonsense. These truths are made to be apperceived intuitively by awareness itself. Awareness seems to have manifested itself into a material universe. We must say seems, because manifestation requires time and space, and time and space do not exist in pure awareness at the absolute level. So nothing has really arisen. Our human minds can only perceive this universe, these planets and all the animate and inanimate objects on them, as real objects, which are definitely here, definitely manifest. And it can only perceive these using time and space. So to our minds, it seems that things arose, for sure arose, and exist across a certain duration. Remember now, we have been conditioned to think of our human minds as the ultimate, totally trustworthy perception tool, belonging to the most important, most intelligent species, when in fact, all that the mind is capable of perceiving or understanding make up only the tiniest fraction of consciousness. The fact that our minds cannot process abstract realities or perceive things in the now without time or space clearly demonstrates the mind's limitations. Awakening is perceiving things not through the mind, but through awareness's own sense organ, which we may not know about yet, because we've been too busy perceiving everything with our minds, but which will be unmistakable in the awakened state when we notice we're still perceiving and functioning even in the absence of body, mind, senses, or ego self. The best analogy for this could be the dream state. Every night we enter a world in our dreams, having all kinds of experiences and experiencing all of it as totally real. We move around our homes, we drive through cities and buildings, and interact with numerous people as if all of this has really arisen and is right in front of us. When we awaken, we see no new buildings or cars or people in our bedroom. Nothing has really arisen. It was just a dream. What we call our waking state is just another dream that awareness is having and will wake up from at some point. And every event and solid object we encounter is no more real than that which seemingly arose in our nighttime dreams. Next point is, since there is only one thing in existence, awareness, think about it, everything must be that, made up of that, already one with that, never separated from that. Right? Obviously, this includes all planets, all planes of existence, all minerals, flora, fauna, and even all humans. It's all just that one thing. Now, awareness seems to be expressing, discovering, delighting itself through all these forms. In the human form, awareness is expressing itself with sentience, self-awareness, and body minds which seem to perceive themselves as separate entities, not only from each other and other material objects, but even from awareness itself. We think we're separate individuals, separate from awareness, or spirit, or God, or whatever you like to call it. Identifying with this temporary body mind and sense of separateness from everything can give rise to feeling cut off from everything, including our source, awareness. This in turn can give rise to feeling alone, abandoned, scared, unloved, terrified of our eventual termination, death, highly competitive with other body minds, and an overall feeling that this life is full of struggle. If an ocean wave took itself to be a separate entity, which could only stay in its form for so long before dying or falling back into the ocean, like us, it would feel alone and struggling and maybe even worried about its death. Then the wave dissolves back into the ocean and sees that it was always one with the ocean, always made of the same water. It was always just the ocean. Now, since this false identification, the false feeling of separateness, and all these resulting emotions and experiences are part of how awareness is expressing itself through the vast majority of humans, we can assume it is what awareness wants to experience through human circuitry. Remember, awareness could express itself any way it wants to. As a matter of fact, it's already expressing itself without a sentient sense of separateness or fear through rocks, trees. Through us, it's expressing itself with those experiences. So obviously that's the natural order and naturally just fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong or inferior with any one of us diving deep into the human identification and remaining there all our lives, never poking our heads out of that false identification to realize or melt back into our sense of oneness with awareness. In some humans, awareness may express that, and that's fine too, and not at all superior. If it does, remember, it will be awareness choosing it, not the non-existent, separate human. Because, once again, awareness is all there is. There is no separate human. There seems to be this eventuality that occurs to some humans where they catch a glimpse of the true reality behind this illusion and see that all there is awareness, and that they are already one with that. Even a glimpse of that provides vast wisdom, bliss, and a feeling of freedom. When a human's perception of the true reality or awareness goes beyond glimpses and becomes permanently rooted, permanently the foreground of how they perceive and experience life, with the false body, mind, ego identification receding all the way into the background. That's what we call awakening or enlightenment. The perception that we are a separate body, mind, ego need not fully disappear. As a matter of fact, it's still called on as needed for being a functioning human as long as we're still in this body, to balance the checkbook, drive the car, etc. It simply loses any significance, any sense of a personal self or the doer in these functions. Functions seem to just happen to no one, for no particular reason, arising out of the non-personal pure awareness. In awakening, living in and from this true perception of reality remains in the foreground constantly. Since the awareness is the true permanent reality, a being who experiences themselves as that, not as the body, mind, ego, no longer anticipates or fears human death, because they know that since what they are is pure awareness, they cannot die. That can only go on after the body, mind, ego drop away. In any event, there is no birth or death or going on, because there is no time. It's all happening now. Once again, the mind can't get this, that everything is now, because our minds are part of the temporary, time-driven, illusory projection of awareness, which includes a start point and an end point, time and space. That's why if you only get this mentally, it won't stick, and you'll soon be back to identifying yourself with your body, mind, and all its problems and suffering and eventual death. Both the path to this full awakening and the way in which each human expression experiences it is different throughout each person. This is easily shown by reading or listening to the many awakened masters and their descriptions of their experience. As you listen or read, you'll notice that some of them have had explosive kundalini erupting experiences that they even found quite troubling for months or years, while some quietly experienced a radical shift in perception. Some feel awakening to be a permanent, static line that they've crossed over, while others feel to be just the start of continuously unfolding levels of expanding vastness. 3 hallmarks that seem to be reported by all who have awakened are: first, a cessation of all seeking, or the need to keep seeking for peace. Peace becomes the constant experience. Both the peace and the lack of seeking emanate not so much from a feeling of well, now I'm awakened, so I'm finished. No, actually, it emanates more from I'm gone. And all there is and ever was is awareness. So what is there to seek? The second is a direct experience that everything, our bodies, the solid objects around us, the air, are all made of the same substance, the same unity of pure awareness. A third hallmark is that with awakening and realizing we are the one awareness, everything is now experienced through awareness's eye or perception. And so the entire universe, every event taking place in it, is now perceived as taking place inside of us instead of outside of us. There is no longer an other. This collapsing of the subject-object vantage point of experiencing things. I, as the subject, perceive all thoughts, feelings, people, the material world, everything as separate objects. As that collapses, that becomes one of the surest tests of awakening. If you can say, I, separate being, am having this experience of being awakened, you're not having that experience. It's important to remember that awakening or enlightenment is not an accomplishment or anything to be proud of. When people ask me, are you awake? Are you enlightened? They're asking it as if I have achieved something extraordinary and that they should treat me as an extraordinary person. But nothing could be less extraordinary. It's the natural state. Naturally, when all the false beliefs and notions of who we are drop away, that's what is left. Awareness simply allows that to dawn in us. And if I were to try to take credit or say I'm special because awakening has happened over here, but it hasn't happened over there in you, well, I'd be right back to reinforcing my own illusory separate self and right back out of it. Since awareness is the entity experiencing all this, not us, none of this matters. It doesn't matter to awareness because awareness is fine and complete with things just as they are. And it can't matter for us because we don't exist separate from awareness. And at the absolute level, we have no independent volition over how this unfolds. It couldn't actually matter to us even if we insist that there is an us, a real separate body mind with a separate life. Because these body minds and the apparent earth and universe in which they exist are only here for the briefest moment. And anything that seems to matter in a flash will be gone and actually not have mattered at all. So one could say discussing these truths, which we sometimes call satsang, and then trying to work with them or do certain practices to realize them and awaken, we sometimes call those practices sadhana. Neither of those matter. It doesn't matter. Still, some of us are interested in that and do these things, and I know that it's helpful to know that this is not because we are in any way more spiritually evolved or superior than others, but simply because that's how awareness is expressing and enjoying itself through us as humans who feel a calling to that. There's no more significance to it than that. In the next video, we're going to definitively address the sometimes confusing and highly debated question of human volition and practices on the path to awakening. For now, I invite you to listen back through these basic tenets of true reality and awakening and allow it to marinate for you, activating any questions and transformations that are stirred up in you, that awareness's next natural evolutions and callings are manifesting in you. Namaste.